Welcome, everybody. Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for coming over from YouTube. Tonight, we're going to focus. I don't think I've done this before, maybe once, on famous sports stars. I kind of tried to pick the greatest of all time, but if it's not the greatest, it's close to it. I changed a couple too. I decided to put Serena in there to get another woman in there, and to instead of Roger Federer, and also because she's retiring now and she's such an incredible athlete. And also, I thought that even though Marciano was the only undefeated boxer, then more people know about Ali. So I chose instead to replace it with Ali. So we're going to look at 8 famous sports stars, and we're going to show you not why they're great, but we're going to show you themes in common between the great ones. There are no symbols that make you great, but there are symbols that make you so powerfully energized. So the person has to have the wherewithal, to have the right upbringing, the right karma, the right family, all these different things. We're going to keep all that in mind. But I'm not going to let you go off track and start thinking there's a great sports planet. There's a great sports planet, because there aren't any. But there are some unbelievable combinations. And really, I think that one of the most breathtaking charts you'll ever see of any athlete is, and I don't like saying it, but it's Tom Brady. Brady's chart is just unbelievable. And you'll see why. Now, he had to do the work, and he was taken in the 6th round. Over 150 picks. They made over 150 picks before they picked Tom Brady. Think of all those general managers who got fired. Picked in the 6th round. And just clearly the greatest football player above Jim Brown, anybody. And he's still playing. He's 45. Anyhow, we're going to go right down the list. I'm going to show you some intriguing things about them, and some things in common. One thing I did find is they all have very significant heiresses, which they don't even know. And when they were born, they didn't even know it was there. But their heiresses are all very strongly placed. So it definitely puts a lot of fight into people. So let's start with the guy named Michael Jordan. And we're recording. And we'll go right into, not Naomi, but we'll go right into Michael Jordan's chart. Okay. All right, here we go. So he is an Aquarian. This is a little debatable when you talk about the greatest basketball star ever. There are 5 or 6 or 10 that are in the same category, but he just has this extra oomph. This guy was a freshman at North Carolina. They gave him the ball the last second of the national championship. They gave him the ball in the corner of the basketball court, and he shot and made a 3-pointer to win the national championship as a freshman. If you remember that in 1986. I do, my mouth fell open. So we see that he is an Aquarian. It takes like a perfect storm to make these guys as they are. He's got Cancer rising. He's got the Eris. Look at the Eris, 9 degrees, almost 10, almost exactly square to the ascendant. Squares to the ascendant are one big deal. They're a big deal. This is where he gets that fire in him. Because remember, one of the things about Eris, it may be a little impolite and it may be a little rude, which he's known. He can be a little rough on the edges. But Eris has that quality of no matter what. No matter what. Okay, that quality is in these athletes. Okay, some people, Erica, some people are having trouble. You're going to go out and back in. I've been having a lot of internet trouble recently, and I hope we end up okay tonight. Okay, let's get back to Michael. All right. So we see in Michael's chart, we got a very powerful Jupiter sitting right there at the midheaven. Jupiter's in wonderful shape in Pisces. Jupiter's at 19, the midheaven's 22, and Jupiter in Pisces is, for lack of any other words I can find, it's somebody that has just a lot of faith. Just a lot of faith. It'll work out. That's one of the great things about Jupiter, is it'll work out. Now, Naomi, as you're learning these things, well, the problem with Jupiter is they'll think it's going to work out when it isn't. So you got to watch Jupiter and you got to watch Sag, because it'll work out. But is the guy BSing me? Maybe it'll work out and it ain't going to work out. So you got to watch Jupiter. You always got to have both thumbs on Jupiter when you're watching it. But we find that it has tremendous interplay with Michael Jordan when the game's on the line, when somebody challenges him. Go watch replays of him. When people challenged him, they were just dead. They were just dead. He just would go hang in the air for 12 seconds and while you're down on the ground looking at him dunk the ball. So you got a 9th house sun, broad-minded. He's an Aquarian. He's got the Mercury. I'm not correct here. Chiron. He's got the Chiron in Pisces also. This gives him bigness. He's got the Pisces. He's got the Aquarius. Bigness, universal mind. All three opposite Uranus and Pluto. So that 1965 conjunction of Uranus and Pluto was just forming as he was born, and it conjuncted 2 years later. This is in many, many people's charts. That's a very powerful opposition. And you see, when you have a lot of Uranus and Pluto opposite Jupiter and Chiron in the sun, what you have is, yes, you have the opposition, but what it creates is phenomenal competitiveness inside, fire. So don't go crazy when you say, I got an opposition. Oh, I got a Saturn square to my Mars. The old books will screw you up by trying to teach you that you're going to have problems with it. He probably had a lot of things, adversities that he had to overcome. I mean, they were talking about him in high school. Here comes his sister, Linda Jordan. Okay, so don't be surprised when you see major oppositions, and Linda Jordan comes to us as we're looking at the greatest basketball player in history, Michael Jordan, with always 3 planets opposite Uranus and Pluto. It comes from the opposition. So she'll be the basketball player. Okay. So even though you got oppositions, it does not mean that Pluto's stopping the sun, Uranus is stopping the sun. It just gets in the way of it. It's tremendously energized. Playing an NBA schedule is not easy. Being ranked amongst the best ever is not easy. A hell of an accomplishment. So we're looking for hellacious stuff in this chart to see how he could be so astounding. So we want to zoom in. You always want to zoom in on these things. You want to find out what's really close. The Uranus is at 3 and the Pluto's at 11. So the sun is only 5 degrees away. The Pluto is at 11. It's only 2 degrees away from the Chiron. So you got a lot of emphasis there. Now, what's so astounding about this, when oppositions go on and you have this ping-ponging going on in your head, sometimes they form a triangle to a 3rd planet in this case, a sixth planet, and they all let all their gas out through the moon and Sag. So all this T-square all goes through moon and Sag. So now you pick up more fire, moon and Sag, fire, firecrackers, fireworks. Let's go. I can do it. Give me the ball. Let's go. We can do it. We can do it. 6 titles with the Bulls. I told you, given the ball as a freshman to make the last shot in the national championship, 1986. He makes the last shot. 3-pointer from the corner, no problem. It's because of, it's not because of, but it's largely indicated with this moon in Sag. Now you'll see when Maravich was growing up, and I remember in high school, Maravich averaged over 44 points in college per game without the 3-point line. But a lot of people got tired of him because he shot the ball all the time. He was a gunner. And he got the nickname Pistol, Pistol, Pistol. And it caused a lot of problems with people, and he was really phenomenal. Way up in the top 5, in my opinion. But sometimes when you have an excessive Jupiter, you're just excessive. So when you watch a great Sag quality or a great Jupiter quality, you want to see, is it channeled into greatness? Is it channeled into just wildness? You have to watch it. Don't be put asleep by these books just that think that Jupiter and Sag are the end-all be-all, because they're not. Now, so much to say here. Hello, Claudia. Okay, so we see this tremendous T-square pouring through a moon in Sag at 10 degrees. What did I tell you? 11 degrees, 10 degrees, 9 degrees. And I don't care what anybody says, your Chiron in your chart, since I have it as the ruler of Virgo, your Chiron has a lot to do with your skills. And in this case, it means otherworldly skills. So you see, it's powerful coming to this moon. And this moon is where? I keep telling you, a planet in the early part of a house, as opposed to the middle of the house, later in the house, early part of the house has much more impact on that house. This is a powerful moon in Sag. 6th house, get it done, get the work done. So you can see it when his tongue starts, as he's about to drive the ball, he sticks his tongue out. He's working you like a Virgo. It's like a skill. He's going to dominate you somehow, and he's going to stuff the ball in your face. That phenomenal sense of work is mixed with this phenomenal sense of fun. Fun that he's having with the moon and Sag. Very, very strong. Now, we see, surprisingly, he's got a Venus very angular. Venus sitting right there, giving him lots of charm, giving him more Libran qualities than actual Capricorn qualities. So the Venus in Capricorn sitting here is going to give him more Libran qualities because the Venus itself, Venusian qualities, I should say, as opposed to the Venus in Capricorn, which is a little bit reserved. So the Venus is very strong. It makes him very social. He's the big time owner of a NBA franchise. And the Venus is square to the Eris, which is intriguing. So what else do we see? We take a look here and oh my, let's read our books. A retrograde Mars opposite Saturn. A retrograde Mars opposite Mercury. This is pretty much the midpoint. So this Mars is opposite the midpoint of Mercury, Saturn. Well, Mars is in Leo. Mars opposite Saturn is somebody that's got possible birth defects, possible muscular dystrophy, muscular problems. I don't think he did. So how much you're going to get from these books that tell you about Mars opposite Saturn when you're watching Jordan fly through the air? So I'm telling you, one of the main things you will see with victorious people is a very powerful Saturn. But he had to work at it. He had to work at it. It wasn't given to him like Mars trying to Saturn. So what we're not seeing here are all the years he spent in the gymnasium and in the weight room. But they said, people, if you read around the block, they said he was that way playing checkers. He was that way playing chess or ping pong. He just wanted to tear you up. He was so competitive and still is. So it's a really monumental chart. Monumental. Now, with that Cancer rising, make sure you do your work. The ruler of the ascendant, what sign is rising Cancer? What planet rules that sign? The moon. So now we know that the moon is the ruler of the chart. So that's when he says, I'm going to do it. Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to dunk it in your face. Yes, I'm going to dunk it in your face. No, there's nothing you can do to stop me. No, there isn't. Boom. And that's what he did. He's all over YouTube, all these special clips of him destroying opponents and all these tremendous interviews with the great ones, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, everybody, talking about how you could not defend this guy. He did not take off from muscular ability. He took off from spiritual ability. He just had great, great athletic spirit in him. So I think it's debatable when you get down to the end, when you talk about the greatest athlete ever. I think he's in the discussion. Certainly Babe Ruth. I'm Tom Brady. So intriguing to see this. Mars is opposite Saturn. He's got several personal planets opposite Uranus and Pluto, and all it did was just rile him up. And he's got one pissed off Eris at the top of the chart, which says, you're going to try to beat me? He had you beat when you walked in the gym. Granted, he went to one of the finest basketball schools in college, went to a nobody franchise in the NBA, turned them around, but he did phenomenal things. So I wanted you to see that, see the opposition to Saturn, see the oppositions to Pluto and Uranus, but don't, when you read this stuff about him, take it with a grain of salt and then put a couple more grains on there. Okay? That's Naomi, that's how you learn. Okay? Sometimes people are crippled from these energies. They can't move that well. Sometimes that happens. I don't know why. Certainly he wasn't. And also, I'll tell you another thing. I haven't looked it up yet, but his Mars is going to go forward some year. By progression, his Mars, we could go find out what age he was when that Mars turned forward in this chart. And we probably would find that at that age was when he won one of his NBA titles, etc. So that's what you do with the progressions with the minor planets that are very rare, such as Venus and Mars. You look to see when does the Venus and Mars turn forward by progression. My brother was born with retrograde Mars, and he was not real confident in himself. And I looked back later on and found out when he was 16 that Mars went forward. And I remember him going into the basement and lifting weights and joining the football team late and making the football team. And he wasn't a great college star, but his maleness came through when the Mars became direct. It's intriguing to watch. Okay, next on our list is the other Michael, who I think is probably near the top when you're talking about the greatest athlete ever. He's got 28 gold medals to prove it. 28, not 18, 28, the swimmer, the phenomenal Olympic swimmer, Michael Phelps, who just beat everybody. Let's take a look at him. Michael Phelps, astounding athlete, one of the greatest ever. We notice the sun is really powerful, right on the ascendant. He's just born. He's born at 8 degrees. So he's born within 1, 2, 3 minutes after sunrise. It's very symbolic. Notice here, Eris, top of the chart. You can see with everybody. Not even aspecting much. Eris is up here. Sun is connected to Mars. Sun conjunct Mars is somebody who usually has powerful muscles, powerful powerful testosterone. Mars in the zodiac is your musculature. Got a very powerful Venus and Taurus. It's another thing you're going to see tonight with these people. Powerful Taurian energy. Saturn and Taurus. Taurus energy. That's what they don't give up. That's when they come to practice and they don't feel like it. You practice, you push through, you push through, you push through. The stamina. It's real prominent with bullshit politicians, Taurus energy, and it's real prominent with great athletes, because you just got to have that push, that drive, especially today, because there's so much money involved that some people are competing way beyond their edge, because there's so many millions of dollars involved. Look at him, the great swimmer, sun opposite Neptune. Any two planets, I told you, in this case 3, any planets that are in opposition along the axis, along that axis, no, along this axis, yes, Sun Neptune, Sun Mars Neptune, Cancer rising. I think if you've seen him interviewed, you see he's a rather delicate, sensitive Cancer. You sense that with him. Nice guy. Love of water, that's the Neptune. But what the Neptune's really about is a God-oriented person. That's what you see in America. You don't hear about this stuff, but in an astrology chart, that's what a chart is about, Naomi. It's about a person who's God-oriented. Because if you're not God-oriented, then you're non-God-oriented. Then where are you going to go? You're going to win a couple cases of beer? You're going to win a couple medals? What? The spiritual side of these athletes can be phenomenal. It can be what drives them. So the sun opposite Neptune, I would be real intrigued by studying his past lives and finding out what he's like spiritually. But to take to that swimming pool all day long, every day, and win all your races by 1 inch, and that 1 inch may as well be a mile. If you're in second place, 1 inch may be a mile. Remember in the Olympics, how many he won by this much? But the other guys, they just could not top him. Just astounding athlete. Okay. Again, you got a major outer planet. Neptune, Pluto, Uranus. Those are the major outer planets. You got a major outer planet feeding directly into the ascendant, into the sun, and to Mars. The little Mars is not out there just piddling around with a doggy style in the pool. When the outer planets hit your inner planets, the inner planets pick up that pizzazz, that power of the ocean. Neptune. See, Shelby wants to hear all about this because it's so intriguing to him. He says, I want to hear all about it. So there you go again. Neptune opposite Mars is too wide, it's 11 degrees. But you got Neptune opposite the sun. Very powerful. Now look at this T-square. We got another T-square to Jupiter. Isn't that wonderful? Saturn in Scorpio, talk about tough. Saturn retrograde in Scorpio talks about you ain't getting along with daddy, something's going wrong. Okay, Saturn retrograde in Scorpio can be very, very tough. It can be very self-critical. It can make your life full of hardship. It can make you really hate yourself, hopefully not. But it's opposite Venus, pretty close, 22 to 24. And the T-square goes over to Jupiter. So here's this fight going on in him. And if I read for him, I would spend a lot of time with him talking about this unhappiness, what's going on with him, with this Saturn Venus, thou shalt not be happy. But all the energy gets spent through, expelled through this tremendous Jupiter at 16 degrees Aquarius in the 8th house. Jupiter's very intense in the 8th house. So these guys, the first two we've examined already, operate on celestial levels. The other guys are wondering in the pool what it's going to take to catch them. I can't answer you. They're celestial. They got celestial oomph. I don't know how you can explain what that means, but it's like you got an inner pep talk. You get an inner cheerleader. That's what Jupiter is. So we know that the guy is driven by the Venus opposite Saturn. And Venus-Saturn is not a good aspect. It's usually an aspect of somebody who's unhappy. But we don't know what he's done with that unhappiness energy. Very intriguing story here. Okay. Then we come back. We see Mercury in Leo. Boy, that's really good. That means you ain't beating me. I don't care who you are. You ain't touching me. Okay, it's cocky. Mars rising. That's very Aryan. Forget the Mars in Cancer. Forget Mars being wussy in Cancer. This is Mars itself rising. This is very Aryan. Just from the Mars there. Very competitive, very competitive, very competitive. Pluto, square to Mercury. 1 degree, 1 degree. 2 degrees, 1 degree. So you think that thing is competitive now it's square to Pluto. And right next door is a heavy-duty Saturn. So these are two heavy-duty planets in this chart. We wonder how they really drive him. Do they drive him from a sense of, did his daddy put him down all the time? You can't do that. You're going to be slow like those other guys. No, you're not going to be that good. What happened? Something like that did happen. But it comes from being put down. It's Saturn. Look at the 6th house, the house of work, the Virgo house. Moon, Uranus, in Sag once again. Neptune we know about. This is somebody who's very moody and very electrifying emotionally, unpredictable emotionally. Opposite Chiron and Gemini. So this is very electric. Let me try this. Let me try this. Let me try this. Let me try that. So we see a kind of surprising chart, really. Saturn, which is so tough, trying right to Mars. Whoo! Are you going to try to outswim some guy who's got an angular Mars and it's trying to powerful Saturn and Scorpio? This means that he'll take 1 breath while you take 7. He's just going to beat you. This is just tremendous stamina, built-in stamina. And he probably beats the hell out of himself so bad if he loses that you don't want to be near him. Okay. So then you see the Saturn is also trying to the Mercury. I told you Saturn is dominant in these guys' charts. Okay, Saturn trines Mercury, Saturn trines Mars. The moon and Uranus are both trine to Eris. So, Michael Phelps is just a powerhouse. Just a powerhouse. 28 gold medals. Okay. Moving along, Miss Claudia. Okay. Annika Sorenstam. She's a little passe right now because she retired a while back, but a phenomenal Swedish golfer. Just dominated. If you watched the sport 20 years ago, she won everything. Beautiful Libra woman, really smart, really classy. Look at this ninth house of hers. Now, see, this shows you how the houses can be so warped, apparently, because you're born in Sweden. When you're born so far north, you get a little tiny house, huge house, huge house, huge house. And see, the thing is, the earth is so tilted at that time of year, it still takes the planets the same time to go through each house. That's why houses are confusing. The northern bounds and the southern bounds will confuse you. So this takes the sun the same amount of time to go through this house as it does through this one because of the tilt. So you can't see everything in this sense. Look at what we got to the bucket handle. All these planets in a bucket. Look at what we got. This beautiful, pretty Libra woman, Saturn in Taurus. Saturn in Taurus. You think you're going to beat her up? You think you're going to wear her down? You think you're going to wear her down with Saturn in Taurus, opposite her ruling planet, Venus, by 1 degree? Mars next to Pluto. Mercury next to Uranus. Brilliant. She's a brilliant golfer. Brilliant. If you ever watched her play, she just was hell on wheels. She would just stick the golf ball where she needed to. Smooth, just smooth Libra. Charts ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in Scorpio. That's awful powerful in the 10th house. Sun near the top. You think that doesn't bring out competitiveness? She's probably the greatest female golfer ever. Top 2 or 3 anyway. Then here we go again. Remember, Eris is in Aries since 1920, 1921. It's going to be there for 120 years. But Chiron was there also. So just 5 degrees away, she had the Chiron next to Eris. This is the house of the mind. Don't ever underestimate the 3rd house. The 3rd house has a lot of connotations, but it's how your mind works. You think that's not a competitive fire in this woman's mind? You think that's not a competitive fire with Pluto and Mars trying to out-finesse me? You're going to try to make a better shot than me technically? Forget it. And if not, and if I get down a little bit, I'll just grit my teeth. Just astounding chart. These people have to have astounding charts. You have to have the outer planets feed into the inner planets. Have to. Eris, feeding right into Mercury. Eris, feeding right into the sun. Chiron, feeding right into Mercury. Pluto, right next to Mars. Pluto, right next to Mercury. Do you see? When your Mercury, your mind, your Mars, your muscles, your Venus, your heart, your moon, your emotions, your sun, yourself, when those things are plugged into these extraordinary powers, you might screw it up real bad, knock your boat over, but you might just use it right. These are the people that you hear the superlatives from the announcers when they're watching the show. And they don't even know what words to use. And they're breathtaking to just watch these skills under pressure. That's the Scorpio, that's the Saturn, that's the Taurus. And they don't even know it. They don't even know what's going on. Most of them, I don't think. That's okay. All right. So for Miss Sorenstam, she was just phenomenal. Now, they actually did lower the rules one year, and they allowed her to play in the U.S. Masters as a female. Only time ever. When she was at her height. And she went and played with the males, and she got destroyed. She got beat really bad because it's a really long course. And the men are bigger. But she got beat pretty bad. But when she played with the women, watch out. Let's move on. Are we having fun? Hell yeah. Well, hell yeah.
We're getting unplugged.
We're getting unplugged. I heard a rumor that we're getting unplugged. I heard a dirty rumor that somebody might be working on the unplugged t-shirt. There we go.
It's not a dirty rumor. It's an actual rumor.
Don't you be showing anybody either. Not
No.
till it's done.
Not yet.
And a $90 price tag on a t-shirt. I'm just kidding you. Erica says, when am I getting mine? When am I getting mine? Babe Ruth, oh my God.
It's not
Well,
scratchy.
huh?
It's not a scratchy t-shirt.
You're breaking up on me. It's not a scratchy?
Any scratchy t-shirt. Soft.
I'm sorry, honey, you're breaking up real bad. Okay, Babe Ruth. Now it comes well timed because we actually have a ball player right now. Look at his heirs up the chart. We actually have a player now. I can't pronounce his name. He plays for Anaheim, who is a great pitcher and a great home run hitter. Not since the time of Babe Ruth did we have somebody like that. Ruth was a 20-game winner as a pitcher and hit 714 home runs. And the pitching mound was closer to the plate. And he didn't put this fancy gummy stuff on his hands. He just spit and picked up the dirt and get the bat. Just a phenomenal baseball player. And he was drunk half the time. Cancer rising. Another Aquarian. Phenomenal heiress. He was just known as a womanizer, a drinker, at night times partying all the time, come to the ball field and just beat the hell out of everybody. He's got the longest home run in history, 574 feet. 500. That's almost 2 football fields. There have been several people hit it over 540. He has the longest in history. 9th house again. Mercury's in Pisces, but Mercury's at the top of the chart. Look at the grand trine here. The moon at 6, Saturn in Scorpio to Venus and Mercury. This powerful grand trine, you have all this force of Saturn feeding into these 3 personal planets, giving them tremendous stamina. Pluto and Neptune, funny, hidden in Gemini, hidden away in the 12th house, square to the Mercury and the Venus. So don't be fooled because they're square. they're still aspecting the Mercury and the Venus. When you're not aspecting is when there's a whimsical, wimpy connection between the planets. When they're really tight, they might be troublesome, but there's power in tightness. There's power coming across the waves, across the wires. You're just always going to see the outer planets do that to the inner. Now, I'll guarantee you some of the most boring people you've ever met, if you ever want to do their charts in silence, you'll see the planets aren't doing anything. There's just no pizzazz in there. Well, these guys, a lot of them, have so much pizzazz that they use it and corral it. I hope I'm making sense. Okay, Ruth. On top of everything. Any topic you talk about in baseball to anybody, he's just the man on top of all discussions. The moon is rising. He was known to be really, really friendly to little children. He really loved little kids. He would stop and do autographs for hours. Tremendous biography on him. In this case, we don't know what to do with these two, but it's kind of like a bucket pattern to two planets. And these two are both in Scorpio. And I can't tell you how powerful Saturn in Scorpio is, or Uranus in Scorpio. These planets are just well founded in those signs. They both have the problems of being possibly heavy-handed, or some of the seedier parts of his lifestyle, but they're powerful. They're just powerful. Now, look at this T-square. Mars at 17, opposite Uranus. What do you think Mars opposite Uranus had to do with his bat speed? He's a big man. His bat speed was incredibly quick, like a cat. And when it released, it went through the sun in Aquarius. So you see what T-squares do. Some T-squares, like the ones we've seen through Jupiter or through the sun, they're expressed really well. Other people have T-squares through Saturn that clogs things up, or through Pluto, which may not get expressed. It's very tricky to play with. But you can see the guy was just built of just power. A phenomenal athlete and a great pitcher. Let's keep going. I'll take a break some evening. Maybe I'll get somebody else to do the show. Okay, so the Gemini made him really quick. Quickness is another thing that you see with famous athletes, and you usually always see that with Gemini issues, perhaps Mercury. Quickness, quick to the plate, quick to the base, quick to the throwing, quick to whatever. Throwing the basketball, dribbling it, passing it. Pretty astounding. Moving on. Here's the chart, in my opinion. I think I showed you one night this chart. Brady's got one of the most unbelievable charts I've seen. How does a guy keep playing at this age and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing, and Pluto opposite Eris across the ascendant? Pluto across Eris across the ascendant. For you astrologers, you're not looking at Eris. He's got Pluto across from Eris across the ascendant. Maybe it's time you start to take a little tiny peek at what Eris is doing. You take Eris out of this chart. You tell me he's not retired by the age of 39. The guy just cannot accept defeat. Yes, he's got a Leo ego. Yes, it's next to Saturn. But he just will not accept defeat. He's really well prepared every game. He beats you mentally. That's why he can play when he's 45. He knows where to throw the ball. He knows what kind of defense you're trying to throw at him. He laughs at you. He laughs at the chess game that you're trying to play with it. He's seen it all. 6th round pick. Played for 1 year at the University of Michigan. 6th round pick. I wonder who scouted that guy. Here's the quickness of Mars, Jupiter, getting rid of the ball quickly. Here's another T-square. Mars opposite Neptune, T-square to Mercury. And the Mercury's in Virgo. Talk about quick and accurate. I just saw a poll recently about the most accurate players through time and all the different categories. He was in the top 2 of everything. Him and Rogers. At his age, accuracy, getting rid of the ball quickly, throwing to the correct receiver, all these stats that they do. So we see what happened to New England once he went to another team, don't we? Great coach, Belichick, but he's without Brady. An astounding chart. 90% of the reason is the Pluto opposite the Eris across his ascendant. This guy must have been coming out of his skin when he was put on the bench in Michigan. Can you imagine? No, you're not starting. This other guy's starting. I don't know if you were watching. I was watching. Fantasy football was early in those days. And I was watching Dwayne or whatever his name was. He was an Aquarian quarterback for the New England Patriots. And he was known for throwing the ball away at critical times. He had talent, but he also was unpredictable. And one day they took him out and they tried this new rookie named Tom Brady. That was it. That was it. That was it. Over 20 years ago. Just an astounding chart. Now let's go deeper. What are we trying to see here? Does like Claudia was telling me recently, we get a bunch of air with these Gemini planets. We don't have much water, do we? We do have the Mars opposite Neptune. That waters that down a little bit. I don't think you see him as very warm and fuzzy. He's kind of stern, a little wooden, and that's Sun Saturn. Okay. But what would you rather have with your field general than a Sun, Saturn in Leo in the 10th house? Would you like to have your field general be tough, bullets bouncing off of him? He's going to stand up to anything around him. Look at that. One thing we haven't said is where's Eris? There's Eris. Every time we've seen Eris in the charts, we've always been at the top of the chart. In his, it doesn't matter because this is even much more powerful because it's right across the ascendant. Because I got to about week 15 last year, and I said to myself, where does this guy just keep getting his, he gets knocked down, he gets back up, he gets knocked down. And I went looking and there was the Eris. Eris is really, really powerful if used correctly. And I know by now you've all got a peek at your own Eris. It's got a good and it's got a bad side. So keep your eye on it. It's very contrary. It can't stand losing. It can't stand giving in. It ain't gonna give in. It's going to win. So you got this guy's Aries energy. With Eris, you got this Leo energy. You got this Martian energy and Pluto Mars energy. I mean, how are you going to beat him? I know everybody's sick of it. How you gonna beat it?
Can I ask something?
No. Of course you can.
I can't, I don't know sports at all. So I'm thinking 45 is old for a older,
Quarterback.
for a quarterback.
It's ancient.
Is it?
Ancient.
Okay. Okay. That's amazing.
41 is old.
Wow.
39 is old.
Wow.
But he gets rid of the ball so fast, you can't get to him. His line defense is the offensive linemen keep everybody off his back. If he gets sacked, he gets up and he looks at everybody. You know, on the team, this ain't gonna happen again. You're gonna protect. I'm doing everything here. You're gonna protect me. And I
Wow.
just knew when I found the errors, I just said, wow. When you look at Ali and you look at Joe Louis and you look at these people that just take a pounding, Saturn or Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
He's just got it all. He's got the ego to go with it, as well as a beautiful wife. And as well as his pocketbook. Got a lot of things going on.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
He just,
Okay. You what?
I was going to say, boy, he just, he doesn't have anything going on, but he seems to have it all. Who knows? I wonder about somebody like that, what they're like in their private life.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no way.
A lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Okay. Let's take a look at this guy named Muhammad Ali. I haven't studied him in a long time. Now, I want to show you something intriguing about Ali. Here's Muhammad Ali's chart, which I replaced the undefeated Rocky Marciano. Okay, notice the bucket pattern to Neptune. If you've been around since he won his gold medal in 1960, this guy is spoken of in godly terms all around the world. Around the world, they love this guy. Look at that Neptune. Okay. He talked tough. He had a big mouth. He had a huge ego. He didn't win every fight, almost every. He was unbelievable. But if you've ever seen a guy backed into the corner when he knew he was in trouble and he got backed in the corner and he decided that was it, I'm coming out, you just got the hell out of the way, because he was frightening to watch when he came out, punching his way out. He was that phenomenal and that strong. Okay. Very personable, very likable. Moon, Mercury, Venus, all in Aquarius. He's a Capricorn. And hail to the chief right now, as Pluto's sitting right on his sun right now. So as Pluto goes over his sun, it already has this year, and throughout the rest of the year, you can look for a lot of accolades to still come to him, even though his body has passed. This is all in the sixth house, a tremendous work ethic, opposite Pluto. Opposite Pluto, opposite Moon. Pluto, opposite Mercury. Pluto, Chiron, Leo rising. Who do you think was on top of the world screaming, I am the greatest, I am. There is no one that could touch me. He was the first big mouth in sports that started that stuff. I am the greatest. He started the hype and all that, but he got into the opponent's heads. He got into their heads. And what do you think happened when Neptune coming along in 1966? Neptune hits this angle. What do you think happened to him? He refused to go to the war. Conscientious objector. When this was exact. Do you see how this works? Neptune hit the most important part of the chart, the God planet, the pacifistic planet. I'm not going to war. That was unheard of. He was called every name in the book for not going to the war. Then he changed his name to Islam name. This guy was radical. That was the Aquarius in him. Had the balls to do it. But when Neptune hit the bottom, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to fight the white man's war. It's the only thing I looked up in all my research. It's the only thing I looked up in terms of dates. I wanted to know where were the planets when he said he was a conscientious objector. Bigger than life. He was fighting for the black man. He was fighting for the dignity of people. Those are Leo qualities. Somebody fighting for your dignity, man's dignity. Those are Leo qualities. And you may hear me badmouth Leo now and then, but Leo's got a greatness to it. And that's the great part, is the dignity. And that's why Leos can be really difficult if they think you offended their dignity. Doesn't matter if you did. If they think that you did, then you're out to lunch. It's called respect. When you look at Leo, that curve means respect. That's what it means. If you're with a Leo and you don't show them respect, you have just been disallowed. You lose your lunch card, everything. You're not counted anymore. Right? It doesn't matter if it's real or not. If it's real in their mind is what matters. So he was a phenomenal man. He was a phenomenal altruistic, a humanistic man. Let's examine his power. Look at the power. Pluto to the moon and to the sun. From Leo, Leo rising. Venus is sitting right on the descendant, making him very charming. He won over people. He was a big BSer. He was the constant clown with the Mercury sitting there. Look at the top of the chart. You want to go fight a guy? Do you want to go fight a guy? The top of this chart sit Saturn and Uranus in Taurus. I tell you what, go up and punch him about 10 times in the face. And on the 11th time, tell him that's what you're doing, because he ain't going to even notice. This guy, he started rope-a-dope. He started the unfortunate trend in boxing when he sensed that you weren't that strong. He wore you out by allowing you to punch him. He put his arms like this, and he would call rope-a-dope, and he would go back onto the ropes, and the fans booed him because they paid good money. He wouldn't fight. He just let you wear yourself out. And once he thought you were worn down, he just would level you. But it takes that mountainous type of energy of Saturn, Uranus, and Taurus at the top. So you see, it has to, Naomi, it has to come from somewhere. All these equalities people have, it has to come from somewhere. You're not going to see some strikingly beautiful woman without Neptune touching their Venus. It's got to come from the gods. You're not going to see these phenomenal athletes without this tremendous stamina that they have, and power and ability to take a lick, a punch. These writers, with their incredible wit, they're going to have tremendous Uranus, tremendous Neptune, Pluto. It's always one of the three. It's always one of the three. Think of any, guess what sun sign Shakespeare was? All the work, productive. He was a Taurus. You know, and there were probably other things in his chart. I haven't seen it in a while. that made him so artsy. 11% of the words we used were made up by him. 11% of all the words we use in English language were made up by him. That's pretty cool. He just never stopped. So when someone's that prolific, they have to have the energy behind it to maintain, not to, oh, I want to take a break and sit back. Okay, so you're learning a lot of real good lessons tonight. Okay, moving along. Wilma Rudolph. Don't know much about her because she was a little bit before my time, but she was a Black woman, one of the greatest track stars in history. She was just tremendously fast, tremendously capable. Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Taurus. 11th house. By themselves, these Taurus planets will slow you down. It's not a quick energy. It's not a nimble energy, but you all know from whatever sports you've done, how much work is involved, how much practice is involved, how much you try it again. So let's talk to Linda tonight. Linda's our assistant basketball coach at her college. She's a fine student of mine. Linda, I want to ask you, when you are working with the guys and gals at your school, how do you rate the Taurus qualities that are needed?
Well, here's what I would say. I would be willing to bet if I did the chart of the captain of our 2011 team, where the year that our coach died, when we had all the drama and all the carrying on, the first thing he said to me in the first game is he said, and this is going to be a curse word, we're going to fucking win this game. And the last thing he said when we won when we won the championship, he said, the coach was trying to put in a new defensive play to keep the other guy from scoring. He said, we're not doing that. We're going to go with our own stuff. And he walked away from the huddle and everybody followed him. So he has to have Leo energy and he has to have Taurus because there was no moving him. So, and one of the things that I think I've learned tonight is that it's not so much the athletic talent, it's
Right.
that thing that moves through people. And he had that in abundance. So
Look at Tom Brady. Look at Tom Brady. Look at Ali. Look at Michael Phelps, not Jackson,
Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Well, I mean, the thing about Brady, he was, why he's a 6th round pick, because he didn't have any metrics. I mean, he didn't have the jump, he didn't have the speed, he didn't have seeming arm strength. There was, when they measured him, it didn't come up to be a football player in their eyes. But the problem is that they should do a chart, and they could have said, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Draft this guy.
I'll take $128 million to do his chart and let you know the secrets.
I mean that.
But that's really a wonderful story you're telling about how so much of coaching has got to do with the heart.
Well, really, when our team often has more athletic talent because we do recruit Black kids, and they're often just more talented. I don't mean that as a racial statement, but I mean that
it's true.
It's just true. But you can have a lot of talent, a lot of it, but if you don't have that other thing, you're not going to win. You're just not. And
If I got the ball, I'm not giving it to her unless she's got that thing. She's got that thing. I'm dying to give the ball over to her because she's got that thing.
And I just had a long conversation with one of our young assistant coaches who played for us and won a championship a couple years ago. And I always have said to him, at the end of the game, we're down by 1 point, and we need a bucket. And he starts dribbling towards the bench, and it's like there's 20 seconds left. And I'm thinking, what is he doing? And he gets the foul call. And I said, how did you know that? I said, how did you know that they were going to call the foul? Because sometimes at the end of the game, they won't do that.
Right.
He said, oh, I made him. He said, I made him do that.
Sure he
and,
did.
and he was maybe 140 pounds soaking wet, no taller than me. And I have a video of him. We did what we call a switch, where on defense, sometimes they'll try to pick off a guy. So you switch. And he was mismatched with their big guy. It's like maybe 6'7", 6'8", and this kid's like my size, and he's battling him he's standing in the hoop battling him, and you could see he can't even see the play because this guy is so big in front of him. But there was no stopping him. There was just no stopping him. So I'm going to get everybody's chart and start looking at it.
Well, that's really important. And if you don't have these qualities, it's just not going to happen. Now, you can't say likewise, if you do have these qualities, you're going to be great, but it's got to be a mixture of all of that,
Well, and the one thing that has to be in there, though, is what we call the gym rat quality. You've got to want to be in the gym. You can have all the physical talent or all this other stuff, and if you're busy laying on your bed, nothing.
You got to work. You got to want to work.
So.
It's like the greats, like Lambert, like Jack Lambert for the Steelers. If you loafed on a play, he'd come up and kill you. He would come up and kill you. I got to tell you a quick story, because I got a little bit of time. I used to be a filmmaker, and I made a bunch of industrial movies in the 70s and 80s. And I was working with my boss, who made a lot of movies in the Pittsburgh area, while the Steelers had the great Steeler years. And so one time we were making a movie for Consolidated Coal about how to lift without hurting your back, because they get all these lawsuits, people lifting and getting their back hurt, and they sue the company. So to use it for an item, we got to use, we allowed in 1976, we're allowed to use the very Three River Stadium. The whole stadium was ours. So we went out and they put down a bunch of railroad ties. And we've got a bunch of ex-Steelers or sub-Steelers to come lift them, show them how to lift properly instead of lifting badly and hurting your back, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the film. I mean, it's an industrial film. And I'm taking a break, and I'm in the restroom, and I'm in the great big huge clubhouse, right? And I'm walking out to the field, and I hear this kabang, 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 kabang. And I go, what the hell is that? And I get up to an opening, and inside that opening is one of the weight rooms, and there stood 6'9" Elsie Greenwood with a neck brace attached to a rope that went over to the weights on the floor. And he's just going, bang, 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 just moving his neck like that. And those things were just going. And I got next to him and said, say, man. say, man. I said,
Maybe he had a Taurus neck, huh?
and I forget what sign he was. He sure had a Taurus neck. But say, man. And part of the steel curtain. But I learned then how tough these guys were. Thank you, Linda. That was a good story, a good addendum. So you're seeing really good human stories. You're seeing astrological stuff too. But you're getting the misnomer being done away with. That it's all in the chart, because it's not all in the chart. Yes, Susan.
I'm not an athlete, but a general. George Patton.
Oh, yes, Scorpio.
So 2 T-squares by the look of it. He's got Mars at the exact bottom of his chart. He's got that as the linchpin of a T-square between Mars and Pluto and Mercury, with Pluto opposite Mercury, and he was known for his speaking. Holy cow, you didn't want to be on the wrong end of his temper.
No, you just
And then-
run you over.
Oh yeah. And then there is this Jupiter Uranus conjunct at the bottom of the other T square, which joins up to Saturn and Venus, Saturn being opposite Venus. So I don't
What a
see,
lot of this stuff is these guys can't stand themselves. So they're gonna make sure you know it. A lot of this is. They
Yeah.
just have heard, they can't stand themselves, but they've heard so much crap in their life. They're just not gonna lose.
right.
Like,
And a whole lot of this stuff is early in all of the signs.
yeah, he's got
It's
an
all,
amazing chart. We'll pull it out someday. Thank you. That's a good example. The great generals, Marshall and them, they all
Yeah.
have these kind of charts. Eisenhower. Yeah, the Taurus.
Churchill would be interesting too.
Which one?
Churchill. He was,
Yeah, the
you know, a
Sagittarius,
failure
right.
until he wasn't, and then he was a huge success. And then at the end, he couldn't get elected dog catcher again.
Yeah, well, his Sag mouth got him in trouble. But anyhow, we'll do all those things in time. Thank you. We'll move on very much. Okay, that was really good stuff. Okay, back to Wilma Rudolph. What you see here, every chart's so different, which is why I keep telling you, do charts, do a chart, do a chart. Keep doing it. Look at the concentration first house. Pluto, Mercury, Mars, Chiron, Venus, Sun. I mean, Cancer is a wussy sign in many ways, but in a lot of ways it's not. It's tenacious. Why you think they got those big claws? It's a tenacious sign. It's intense. Look at Ray Lewis for the Baltimore Ravens and Lawrence Taylor for the New York Giants. Some of the greatest football players ever were Cancerian. The Steelers are Cancers. The Steelers are the Cancer. The Pirates are the Taurus. How about that? When you think it's the opposite, the Pittsburgh Steelers as a team are Cancers. The Pittsburgh Wussy Pirates are the Tauruses. And now this is just a powerhouse here with the Mars, Mercury, Pluto. And look at the moon being all by itself. And the moon in Aquarius is very, very strong and noted for its insensitivity, its ability to withstand a punch. You're not going to knock it down. It's tough. It's tough. It's brotherly. It's friendly. And look at where little friendly Eris is. She didn't even know, we didn't even know there was an Eris in 1940. It's Eris and Aries at the top. Just a phenomenal speed. Plus, she's running as a Black woman with lots to prove and lots of adversity. Just a tremendous charge, just tremendously gifted. And finally, Serena Williams. And I'm glad I did change to do this chart. Yeah, she's a Libra, and notice how quickly her sister Venus faded. Venus still plays, but Venus doesn't have the oomph that Serena does. And as they came up, they were really pretty much matched. But as time went on, Serena just took the ball from her the last 20 years. Look at the bucket pattern to this thing called Eris. In every case tonight, everyone. Think of the thousands of charts that we've all looked at. We never looked at the Eris. Astrologers, look at your Eris. Now, please. Thank you. Taurus rising. Venus the ruler. Venus in Scorpio. Libra, 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 Libra. I tell you what, you may not read this in the books, but if you take a look and you really watch sports, etc., Libras are competitors. I actually counted every player in the major leagues one year. And most of them, the greatest popular sign was Libra, #1 sign. Very competitive, very team-oriented, very smart. But these people are competitive. They want to win. Okay, what else do we see here? Eris is most intense right across that 15th degree. We come and we see Jupiter right at 17. Okay, going across the house of service, the house of hard work. So you could tell she puts in the hard work. She's not one of these Libras that's afraid to sweat or go camping or get dirty. She's an intense worker. This gives her tremendous, phenomenal Virgo capacity because of the 6th house being so heavily populated. The 6th house does that. Here we get again, Venus, Uranus in Scorpio. Neptune is squared to the moon, and that's got a lot to do with wanting fame and fortune, which is a Libra quality anyway, but the Virgo sure doesn't want it. The moon in Virgo doesn't want it. The moon in Virgo shows her incredible skill level with the hands, the wrists, the arms. Heavy Virgo, heavy Chiron people have very talented hands, wrists, fingers. Chiron, Kairos, I forget the word, Kheir in Greek means hands. Like the hand on a clock. So you see the skill level, the Libra showing you the tremendous mental level, the competitive level. So why is she retiring? I was looking at that. Besides the fact that she's 42, 41. So she's mainly going through, at age 41, she's mainly going through Uranus opposite Uranus. So transiting Uranus right now is at 18, 19. So it's going to come up and hit this Chiron, which it's already been opposite her Venus. So she's at Chiron opposite Venus. She's at Chiron approaching opposition to Uranus. So what's happening to her? Like I told you, 7th house. What did I keep telling you? It's about marriage, but it's about your public persona. Who do you see on TV every other commercial now? Serena Williams. She's just on the TV all the time. She doesn't have the warmest of personalities with the moon in Virgo, but she's got that winning charisma of Libra, Venus. And as Uranus opposes Uranus, and I'm sure she'll be announcing for tennis matches, you're likely to see her in other roles. Movies. Who knows what that moon in Virgo will allow her to be, but just tremendously skilled. The Uranus is largely why the retirement's happening, probably other things. Pluto is right here. Pluto is getting near 29. It's been at 23. So she's at Pluto squaring Pluto, and Pluto squaring Mercury. Uranus, Saturn. Saturn's at 21. So Saturn is squared to this. She also has this tremendous T-square. Look at that. That Chiron is actually opposite the midpoint of these two, and it makes the T-square down to Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo. So there you see, again, you think you're going to beat somebody with an amplified Mars and Leo. It isn't the cardinal that beats you. It isn't the Mercury that beats you. It isn't the air signs that beat you. It's the fixed planets. Because that bull just scrapes the ground and digs in. Go ahead and serve it. Come on. Go ahead and serve. One more. Come on. Yeah, Linda.
Well, I don't know if you saw the match last night. She won the first set. She lost the second set. And then she just she said this. She said, I knew I had to, she said, I just had to dig in and beat him. And, you know, and she, by the end of the game, that she was playing this number 2 player in the world. And that woman just gave up. She couldn't even serve the ball at the end. She just, that was it.
I was reading the life story of the pretty pathetic, what was our great chess player, Bobby Fischer. And he was left alone to play in the park when he was 5 years old. And that's why he learned to play chess. His mother was a prostitute, and that's all he did growing up was play chess. But he had some really nasty opinions of people. And he was a pretty nasty person, actually, but an astoundingly powerful chess player. When he was taking on the tour of Germany and Europe when he was 13 years old. 13 years old, he was beating all the grandmasters in Europe as of the great chess masters in Russia, etc. His goal was not to beat you. His goal was to destroy you as a personality. That's why he lifted weights before all the tournaments. He has that Pluto Mars thing, that destructive kind of heavy-handed energy. And his goal was read his biography. He wasn't here to beat you. He was here to destroy you for even thinking of coming to the table. So I'm worn out now. That was a heavy duty evening. But you can see, yes, Susan.
Okay, so to apply that wants to destroy you to the former guy, Donald Trump, that's his approach to all of his opposition, right?
That's
Total
exactly
destruction.
right. Trump is the way he is because of Harris.
Okay,
shows
so
you
it's a similar aspect.
Let me
then.
show you again. He was the one, I'm wrong. He was the one I looked up a couple years ago. Said, this guy just doesn't stop. I was wrong. It was Trump. Let me show you. And it's the Harris. Watch again. He's a Gemini. You wouldn't expect this from a Gemini. Trump.
Right.
He gets it from his Eris and from his Leo energies. And this is the Trump chart I use. And look at this. Bucket pattern to Eris.
Okay.
The dog doesn't even like it. See, look at that Eris over here. Look at that moon in Sag here. But that Mars and Leo. You think I won't do it? That's what Mars and Leo is. You think I won't? I will. This is the feel sorry for me. Moon. But that Eris is powerful. And Eris opposite Neptune. That's why you keep thinking, oh my God, isn't he embarrassed yet? He's got a bottomless pit of need for embarrassment. It's just unbelievable. Anyhow, we sure don't want to end an athletic talk with Donald Trump's name. That's for sure.
He
Everybody,
does use a golf cart to get around.
yeah, he used to drive. He drives a golf cart over the green of the courses that he owns. Then he's got to pay to get the green fix. You know what a golfing etiquette person says when they see a guy run the golf cart over the green? Go ahead, John. Say it. Night, everybody. I hope you learned.
Yeah,
you.
we did.
Thank you, Rick.
Keep studying,
you.
digging into,
Wonderful.
Great.
dig
Dig
into, dig into those charts. See you all
Everybody
later.
says good night.
Okay,
Bye.
Night.
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye, Rachel.